Welcome to This Explainer. Today, we are unpacking a truly fascinating case study in psychological strategy. We're going to examine exactly how detectives used some brilliant, highly structured interrogation techniques to completely shatter a 30-year domestic facade. We'll be looking at the case of Greg Thompson. He's a guy who thought he had buried his dark past forever, only to have it completely unearthed right on his own front lawn. Let's get right into it.
Okay, let's dive into this extreme juxtaposition, because it is wild. On one hand, we have the 2021 reality of 59-year-old Greg Thompson. He's been married for decades, living in a quiet suburban home in Florida that he bought way back in 1996. He's literally out there talking about fixing his roof and doing the gardening. But contrast that with the 1999 reality. Detectives know that in November of that year, a masked man with a knife was waiting inside an apartment for a 30-year-old mother who had just dropped her child off at the bus stop. The collision of these two totally different realities, that's the foundation of this entire interrogation.
Now, when police first confront Greg and kind of hint that his DNA was found at a crime scene, his immediate reaction is just incredibly telling. He says, "I probably did. I was quite the rock star back then." I mean, wow. Investigators expertly just let him talk, letting him build up this incredibly self-aggrandizing, ego-driven persona. He actually tries to write off a horrific crime as just the crazy antics of a local cover band guitarist taking advantage of groupies. And by letting him lock into this absurd rock star archetype, detectives are silently gathering all the ammunition they need to completely dismantle his lies. Section 1. The permanence of DNA. A ghost-like force.
So the very first major strategy the police utilized was wielding forensic science as almost a psychological weapon. Let's walk through this timeline together. The original violent crime and DNA collection happened in 1999, and the case actually sat completely cold for over 2 decades. Greg probably thought he was totally in the clear, but here is the absolutely critical turning point. In 2005, Greg was caught peering into windows and fleeing the scene. He was convicted of burglary, aggravated stalking, and voyeurism. Now, that 2005 conviction forced his DNA into the federal database. Fast forward to early March 2021, detectives resubmit the 1999 cold case evidence, and boom, it triggers a match.
The really crucial point here is exactly how detectives presented this to him. They didn't just mention a match. They straight up told him, DNA doesn't erase and go away. It can be retrieved from hundreds of years ago. They framed the evidence as this inescapable, permanent, almost ghost-like force. And by doing this, they effectively rendered any of his standard denials completely useless. I mean, you can't argue with something that literally doesn't erase, right? Section 2. The brain injury defense. Deflecting the blame.
Now, what's really interesting about this is that realizing outright denial just isn't going to work, Greg attempts this massive pivot. He spins this totally absurd narrative. He claims he suffered a severe traumatic brain injury from falling 80-pound concrete blocks, which caused memory loss and seizures and required interactive metronomes to fix his brain. Yeah, you heard that right. But contrast that medical defense with the reality detectives already knew. Back in 2005, he wasn't suffering from confusion. He was convicted of calculated predatory behavior, aggravated stalking, and voyeurism. You don't just accidentally commit burglary and stalking because some concrete blocks fell on you. You see, Greg was really trying to sell the story that maybe, just maybe, he had a drug and alcohol-fueled consensual encounter after some late-night gig. But the detectives countered that with some cold, hard facts. The attack didn't happen after a bar closed. It happened at 8 a.m. on a weekday, and the attacker was already hiding inside the victim's apartment when she returned home. This was a brilliant tactical move because it instantly vaporized his rock star and memory loss excuses. Section 3. The psychological ticking clock. Applying pressure. Okay, so having completely cornered Greg, detectives shifted the pressure to the household itself. And they used a search warrant not just as some standard administrative paperwork, but as a highly intentional ticking clock strategy. Step 1, they secured the perimeter of the home.
Step 2, they break the news of the 1999 armed attack and the DNA hit to his wife, Angela. And Step 3, they announce they are actively applying for a judge's sign-off on a search warrant for the entire home. This procedure builds absolutely immense psychological isolation for Angela. Think about it. She is literally locked out of her own home, just standing in her front yard. She is forced to wait in agonizing suspense while a judge reviews the evidence. She's left to wonder, what exactly might the detectives find inside the house she's lived in since 1996? Does he have hidden tapes in there? Trophies? This strategy brilliantly raises the stakes from a simple arrest in the driveway to an imminent, life-altering home invasion by law enforcement. Section 4. A fabricated alibi, the secret twist. Up to this point, Angela really seemed like the tragic, unsuspecting spouse just stuck in deep denial. She desperately tried to provide a travel alibi for him, claiming that around the time of the 1999 attack, they were traveling out west and taking extended trips to North Carolina. She totally played the part of the innocent bystander, faithfully backing up a man she honestly believed was innocent. But, and this brilliantly illustrates a crucial takeaway about deception, we can never, ever take things at face value. Angela wasn't just an innocent victim here. She actively conspired. Authorities uncovered that she and Greg actually designed fake letters to frame a deceased person for his crimes. The quiet, gardening suburban wife was actually the architect of the cover-up. Talk about a plot twist. Section 5. The final consequences. Ultimately, 40. That is the number of years Greg Thompson was sentenced to spend in prison for his horrific crimes. It took over 2 decades, but the devastating power of permanent DNA evidence, combined with a virtually flawless interrogation strategy that cut right through every excuse and fabricated illness, finally brought him to justice. And 2. That is the number of felony counts Angela Thompson faces for fabricating physical evidence. Because she made the choice to help him forge those letters to blame a dead man, she became the ultimate collateral damage, completely destroying the quiet suburban life she thought she was protecting all those years. So, what does this all mean? Well, it leaves us with this final, profound question. When inescapable forensic truth collides with a decades-long lie, who else becomes collateral damage? Because the blast radius of long-buried secrets rarely only impacts the guilty party, right? It shatters the lives of everyone standing nearby. Thank you so much for joining me for this explainer. Keep learning, keep asking those tough questions, and I will catch you in the next one.